Hello, everyone. Thank you for visiting with us today as we talk about courageous conversations. I am so excited today to have J. Scott Raecker with us today. He is the executive director of the Robert D. and Billie Ray Center at Drake University. The Ray Center works to transform lives and strengthen communities by equipping individuals and communities to embrace and practice good character, resulting in a positive environment of civility and principled decision making. Scott has received numerous recognitions and honors throughout his career, including the prestigious Sanford N. McDonald Award for Lifetime Achievement in Character Education in 2018. I am so excited to have him here with us to talk about courageous conversations. My question to you, Scott, is what do you think is needed for a foundation to start a courageous conversation?
Well, thank you, Nichelle. It's great to be with you and all of the people that will be listening to this. We have the opportunity to work globally here at the Ray Center as we are the global home for CharacterCounts, serving over 8 million youth worldwide. We also work from early childhood to the corporate, community, and public service arena. And in each of those arenas and in every place that we work, when we think of the concepts of what does it take for courageous conversations, there's foundational elements that are necessary. It's the intentionality of building and developing relationships, or its ability to communicate clearly. We talk a lot about the 6 pillars of character here. Trustworthiness is one of those pillars. Candor in relationships of trust is critical in order to have a courageous conversation. And I think it's always important in those conversations to focus on action. What can I do better or differently because we've had this conversation? And again, I think wrapping all of that around is the word that's in my mind around this is intentionality. You have to go into courageous conversations prepared with an open heart, an open mind, to seek as much to understand as to be understood, to make sure that you really appreciate what the other person is saying, and also have the opportunity to articulate what your thoughts and feelings are.
That's awesome. So, in your experience, what type of foundations and untrustworthiness is important?
So when we look at the core of character counts rooted in the 6 pillars of character: trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. Mm-hmm. Whenever we talk about those, I share with people it's about I and action orientation. What can I, Scott Raecker, do today to act in a capacity worthy of trust? What can I do to treat people with respect, regardless of how they may have treated me or who they are or opinions that I agree or disagree with them? How can I demonstrate responsibility, take accountability for the choices I make and the consequences that come from those choices, both positive and those that might be punitive, or proactively helping me become better? Can I be fair and equitable in the choices I make and the decisions that I make, how they distribute benefit or burden to those that are involved? Can I truly demonstrate a caring heart? And can I be a good citizen, fulfilling the responsibilities to the communities in which I belong? So that's foundational. Those are the elements of character. And then you weave into that, we do a lot of work with performance character and moral character. Moral character is our best self, how I relate to you, the types of things of being honest with you, of demonstrating caring with you. And then there's performance character, and that's really our best work. That's overcoming obstacles, grit, determination, craftsmanship. And woven into all of that is the opportunity that we have as we work with educators and community leaders and workplaces to grow the character competencies and the ethical leadership in individuals to help them in our mission to incite a more civil society and decision-making in principled ethical leadership. And when you come to that with a courageous conversation, as I said, the foundation of that is what type of relationship do you have with the person or persons that you're having that conversation? An example in a school environment would be, if you're a new building principal and you don't yet have relationship with all of your educators in the building and you're one of your first professional developments, have you yet established that level of trust that they can be candid with you? If you are going over an assessment, say, of your culture assessment in the building. And how do we take this data and use it as a tool to get better rather than taking data and using it as a hammer to knock people down? And if you've got intentional relationships, it's easier to have those conversations. So I think in leadership overall, and certainly when we work in the field of character development, ethical leadership, and civility, the intentionality of building relationships and having the courage and curiosity to build relationships with people that are new and different. It's a challenge for us right now in our society and culturally at large. Bill Bishop wrote a book called The Big Sort, how we've sorted ourselves into like-minded groups. And we have different philosophies. We have different opinions in a school building, in a workplace, in a community setting. How do we listen to each other? And how do we build those relationships so that you and I might disagree, but we can disagree without being disagreeable? An example recently I would tell you of that, I worked with the Alaska House of Representatives Majority Caucus, which is the only coalition caucus in the country. Right. There are 16 Democrats, 3 Republicans, including the Speaker of the House, and 2 independents for 21 of 40 members. Wow. And they've learned to disagree without being disagreeable. They've focused on the common good and the betterment of what they can achieve together rather than separately. And it's just a good example that the relationship building is foundational. Once you have relationship building, you've got to jump into clear communication. And there's a lot of people that do a lot of great work in this, and the elements of communication rooted in relationship. I like the premise of seek to understand and to be understood. Yes. If I want to try and resolve a difference with you, Nichelle, I need to know why you think the way you think, rather than just unloading on you all of my perspectives and actions. Courageous conversations can be very difficult and challenging issues. And we have to know with our mindset, are we coming into this am I trying to change your mind, or am I trying to listen to you and get to some sort of common ground resolution to this? Because those are 2 different outcomes.
Absolutely.
One of the things we found that it's good to do with courageous conversations, one of the strategies we use is called the Compact for Excellence. Works in a one-on-one or even in a small group, and saying, before we dive into this conversation on our assessment data of the culture, what's it going to take for us to do our best work and treat each other with care and respect? And you come up with a list of things like being present and active listening and not making judgments, having an open mind, those types of things. And then you all agree to that and help hold each other accountable. So we call those ground rules for engagement. I think it's necessary for any courageous conversation.
Scott, I love the way that you have the ability to really show how character and all its pillars are really what's necessary to just communicate with people. And the part of the grow process is we look at data. When we have courageous conversations, we're looking at data. And I really like that strategy of putting down ground rules and not coming to the table thinking data is going to be something as to weaponize. So you weaponize data, right? So we're going to use it to really get better. So it's amazing.
And that really comes from the mindset. One of the other strategies that we use, Nichelle, we call it carefrontation rather than confrontation.
I like that.
When you've got difficult or challenging issues, and you need to really approach that with the mindset. Let's say we're working in a school environment, and our mission is the betterment of the educational opportunity for the children, to have a great culture for us to work in, to connect with the parents and be an active part of the community. And how do we go about doing that when we have difficult conversations? Well, the first is to root, what are we trying to do? Really keeping focused on the education component, that we want to have a positive workplace culture, that we want to be great models. We need to teach, encourage, advocate, and model these attributes. And the carefrontation has a couple of key elements. One is that we really need to go after the issue or the challenge or the problem, not the people, right? Not weaponizing data. Being open about people that have other opinions about why we might be seeing that data that we have. A lot of times in our workplace culture and our educational culture data, we're seeing right now that my colleagues respond and react to stress well is a low scoring element. Well, all of us are still under a heavy amount of stress, but certainly coming through the COVID period. And we're not trying to get into the individual, but how do we address stress overall? As an example, what's our data telling us and what we do? It's not that Scott Raecker, you're not responding to stress well. It's collectively, what can we do better? So we really want to go after the problem and not the person. The other thing, and I learned this in my own leadership, is if you've got one of these issues that you believe requires one of these courageous conversations in group or individually, you need to do it. Don't put it off. We talk about when in doubt, do it. Oh, should I have this conversation with Nichelle or not? Yes, you should. And this is, I've got a lot of examples of where in my past, and I'm trying to be better about this, where I thought, well, that person will see what we're doing and they'll get better at it, kind of like by osmosis. And if we would have addressed it earlier and been more clear about the expectations that we were wanting to see, we would have had a better result. Communication then becomes a really key element. A couple of the quick hitters I would give to you and your listeners are, I would use I statements and avoid you statements. Mm. I think I heard you say. Mm-hmm. I understand your belief is. Mm-hmm. I'd like to hear more about that, rather than you're always wrong, you don't listen to me, you don't understand what I'm trying to say. Whenever you get that sentence given to you, starting with the you never, or you always did this, or you get on the defensive, and that breaks down the ability to have a courageous conversation. So use I statements and avoid you statements. I think it's critical that we seek win-win. That's part of the I want, you want, we could, right? What's the best of the global environment? And then candidly, we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect people. Let's own our mistakes and our missteps. And we call it grow and let go. Let's move on. Let's take what we've learned and let's move on from that. And if we still disagree, let's disagree without being disagreeable. And I think those are some really important elements that we look at in courageous conversations. And the whole premise of Carefrontation is that we're going to have this conversation because we both want to have a better school. We both want to have a better culture and environment for our students to learn. We both want to have a better culture, or all of us want to have a better culture and environment for the educational discussion that we need to have to advance us from maybe a low-performing school to a mid-rating school to a high-performing school. How do we elevate that? Those are difficult conversations, and this is happening right now all across the country. Coming out of COVID, we've got all kinds of social emotional learning challenges that we're seeing, especially with students that have been home online learning for lengthy periods of time. So I think having these conversations is critical, and I appreciate that you're doing a series on how do we have them.
Yes, thank you so much. And I appreciate the partnership that we've had with you at the Drake Center and CharacterCounts. So I just really appreciate you being here and sharing your wisdom and your experience. And thank you once again.
Well, thank you. We take seriously in our mission, and I know you do there as well. And ours, It's to transform lives and strengthen communities. Our hope is even interviews like this, the series that you're doing, might touch someone or intrigue them to say, I want to learn more about the grow process. I want to learn more about citrus. I want to learn more about character counts. Those are the types of opportunities that we're all working for a better world here. And it is transformational. And we see that in action, especially the work we've done together in Buffalo and Niagara Falls. We're very proud of the partnership we have with you. And we look forward to continuing strong relationships into the future.
Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you.